The Art of War, Chapter 1, Line Plans. The Sao Kang, in defining the meaning of Chinese for the title of this chapter, says it refers to the deliberations in the temple selected by a general for his temporary use, or as we should say, in his tent. CSS 26. 1. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state." 2. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. 3. The art of war then is governed by 5 constant factors to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. 4. These are 1. The moral law, 2. Heaven, 3. Earth, 4. The commander, 5. Method and discipline. It appears from what follows the Sun Tzu means by moral law, a principle of harmony not unlike the Tao of Law of Tzu in its moral aspect. One might be tempted to render it by morale, where it is not considered as an attribute of the ruler in SS 13. 5. 6. The moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. 2. Yu quotes Wang Tzu as saying, "Without constant practice, the officers will be nervous and undecided when mustering for battle. Without constant practice, the general will be wavering and irresolute when the crisis is at hand." 7. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. The commentators, I think, make an unnecessary mystery of 2 words here. Meng Sai refers to the hard and the soft waxing and waning of heaven. Wang He, however, may be right in saying that what is meant is the general economy of heaven, including the 5 elements, the 4 seasons, wind and clouds, and other phenomena. 8. Earth comprises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. 9. The commander stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. The 5 cardinal virtues of the Chinese are 1. Humanity or benevolence, 2. Uprightness of mind, 3. Self-respect, self-control or proper feeling, 4. Wisdom, 5. Sincerity or good faith. Here wisdom and sincerity are put before humanity or benevolence, and the 2 military virtues of courage and strictness substituted for uprightness of mind, and self-respect, self-control or proper feeling. 10. By method and discipline are to be understood the marshalling of the army in its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. 11. These 5 heads should be familiar to every general. He who knows them will be victorious. He who knows them will fail. 12. Therefore, in your deliberations, when seeking to determine the military conditions, let them be made the basis of comparison in this wise. 13. 1. Which of the 2 sovereigns is imbued with the moral law, that is in harmony with his subjects? Cf. SS 5. 2. Which of the 2 generals has most ability? 3. With whom lie the advantages derived from heavens and earth. CSS 7, 8. 4. On which side is discipline more rigorously enforced? 2 alludes to the remarkable story of Tissau, AD 155 to 220, who was such a strict disciplinarian that once, in accordance with his own severe regulations against injury to unstand corpse, he commanded himself to death for having allowed him horse to shy into field of corn. However, in lieu of losing his head, he was persuaded to satisfy his sense of justice by cutting off his hair. Tissau's own comment on the present passage is characteristically curt. When you lay down a law, see that it is not disobeyed. If it is disobeyed, the offender must be put to death. 5. Which army is stronger, morally as well as physically? As Mi Yao Chun puts it, freely rendered, aspirate the corps and big battalions. 6. On which side are officers and men more highly trained? Tu Yu quotes Wang Tzu as saying, without constant practice, the officers will be nervous and undecided when mustering for battle. Without constant practice, the general will be wavering and irresolute when the crisis is at hand. 7. In which army is there the greater constancy, both in reward and punishment? On which side is there the most absolute certainty that merit will be properly rewarded and misdeeds summarily punished? 14. By means of these 7 considerations, I can forecast victory or defeat. 15. The general that hearkens to my counsel and acts upon it will concur. Let such a one be retrained in command. The general that hearkens not to my counsel nor acts upon it will suffer defeat. Let such a one be dismissed. The form of this paragraph reminds us that Sun Tzu's treatise was composed expressly for the benefit of his Persian Holu, king of Wu state. 16. While heading the profit of my counsel avail yourself also of any harmful circumstances over and beyond the ordinary rules. 17. According as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plan. Sun Tzu, as practical soldier, will have none of the bookish theory. He cautions us here not to pin our faith to abstract principles, for, as Xiang Yu puts it, while the main law of strategy can be stated clearly enough for the benefit of all and sundry, you must be guided by the actions of enemy in attempting to secure a favorable position in actual warfare. On the eve of the Battle of Waterloo, Lord Unsbridge, commanding the cavalry, went to Duke of Wellington in order to learn what his plans and calculations were for morrow, because, as he explained, he might suddenly find himself commander-in-chief and would be unable to frame new plans in the critical moment. The Duke listened quietly and then said, "Who will attack the first tomorrow, I or Bonaparte?" Bonaparte replied, "Lord Unsbridge." "Well," continued the Duke, "Bonaparte has not given me any idea of his projects, and as my plans will depend upon his, how can you expect me to tell you what mine are?" 18. All welfare is based on deception. The truth of this pithy and profound saying will be admitted by every soldier. Colonel Henderson tells us that Wellington, great in so many military qualities, was specially distinguished by the extraordinary skill with which he concealed his movements and deceived both friends and foe. 19. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. 20. Hold out baits to entice the enemy, feign disorder, and crush him. All commentators except Shang Yu say, when he is in disorder, crush him. It is more natural to suppose that Sun Tzu is still illustrating the uses of deception in war. 21. If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. 22. If your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Pretend to be weak that he may grow arrogant. Wang Tzu, quoted by Tu Yu, says that the good tactician plays with his adversary as a cat plays with a mouse. First, figging weakness and immobility, and then suddenly pouncing upon him. 23. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. This is probably the meaning through Mei Yao Shi and has the note, while we are taking our ease, wait for the enemy to tire himself out. The Yu Lan has lure him on and tire him out. If his forces are united, separate them. Less possible is the interpretation favored by most of the commentators. If sovereign and subject are in accord, put divisions between them. 24. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. 25. These military devices leading to victory must not be developed beforehand. 26. Now the general who wins a battle makes many calculations. In his temple error, the battle is fought. Shang Yu tells us that in ancient times it was customary for a temple to be set apart for the use of a general who was about to take the field, in order that he might there elaborate his plan of campaign. The general who loses a battle makes but few calculations beforehand. Thus, do many calculations lead to victory and few calculations to defeat? How much more no calculations at all? It is by attention to this point that I can foresee who is likely to win or lose. 1. Words on Wellington by Sir W. Fraser. Chapter 2. Waging War. The Sao Kung has the note, he who wishes to fight must first count the cost, which prepares us for the discovery that the subject of this chapter is not what we might expect from the title, but is primarily a consideration of ways and means. 1. Sun Tzu said, in the operations of war, where there is the field, 1,000 swift chariots, as many heaven's chariots, and 100,000 mail-clad soldiers. The swift chariots were lightly built and, according to Shang Tzu, used for the attack. The heavy chariots were heavier and designed for the purposes of defense. Li Xuan, it is true, says that the latter were light, but this seems hardly probable. It is interesting to note the analogies between early Chinese warfare, that of Homeric Greeks. In each case, the war chariots was the important factor, forming as it did the nucleus round which was grouped a certain number of foot soldiers. With regard to the numbers given here, we are informed that each swift chariot was accompanied by 75 footmen and each heavy chariot by 25 footmen, so that the Tu Mu and Mi Yo Chen have notes to effect that a general, though naturally stupid, may nevertheless conquer through sheer force of rapidity. Ho Shi says haste may be stupid, but at any rate it saves expenditure of energy and treasure. Protracted operations may be very clever, but they bring calamity in their train. Wang Hsi awaits the difficulty by remarking, lengthy operations means an army growing old wealth being expended, empathy, exchequer and distress among the people. True cleverness ensures against the occurrence of such calamities. Shang Yu say, so long as victory can be attained, stupid haste is preferable to clever dilatoriness. Now Sun Tzu says nothing whatever, except possibly by implication, about ill-considered haste being better than ingenious but lengthy operations. What he does say is something much more guarded, namely that while speed may sometimes be injudicious, tardiness can never be anything but foolish. If only because it means impoverishment to the nation. In considering the point raised here by Sun Tzu, the classic example of Fabius Cunctator will inevitably occur to the mind. The general deliberately measured the endurance of Rome against that of Hannibal's isolated army, because it seemed to him that the latter was more likely to suffer from a long campaign in a strange country, but it is quite a moot question whether his tactics would have proved successful in long run. Their reversal, it is true, led to cannon. But this only establishes a negative presumptions in their favor. 6. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. 7. It is only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. That is with rapidity. The only one who knows the disastrous effect of a long war can realize the supreme importance of rapidity in bringing it to a close. Only two commentators seem to favor this interpretation, but it fits well into the logic of the context, where the rendering he who does not know the evils of war cannot appreciate its benefits is distinctly pointless. 8. The skillful soldier does not raise a second levy, neither are his supply wagons loaded more than twice. Once war is declared, he will not waste precious time in waiting for reinforcement, nor will he return his army back for fresh supplies, but crosses the enemy's frontier without delay. This may seem an audacious policy to recommend, but all great strategists, from Julius Caesar to Napoleon Bonaparte, the value of time, that is, being a little ahead of your opponent, has counted for more than either numerical superiority or the nicest calculation with regard to commissariat. 9. Bring war material with you from home, but forage on the enemy. Thus the enemy will have food enough for its needs. The Chinese word translated here as war material literally means things to be used, and this is meant in the widest sense. It includes all the impedimenta of an army apart from provisions. 10. Poverty of the state. Exchequer causes an army to be maintained by contributions from a distance. Contributing to maintain an army at a distance causes the people to be impoverished. The beginning of this sentence does not balance properly with the next, though obviously intended to do so. The arrangement, moreover, is so awkward that I cannot help suspecting some corruption in the text. It never seems to occur to Chinese commentators that an emendation may be necessary for the sense, and we can get no help from them there. The Chinese words Sun Tzu used to indicate the cause of people's impoverishment clearly have reference to some system by which the husbandmen sent their contributions of corn to the army direct. But why should it fall on them to maintain an army in this way, except because the state or government is too poor to do so? 11. On the other hand, the proximity of any army causes prices to go up. The high prices cause the people's substance to drain away. Yang Zizi says high prices occur before the army has left its own territory. To Cao Kang understands it of an army that has already crossed the frontier. 12. When their substance is drained away, the peasantry will be afflicted by heavy exactions. 13. Exactions 13. 14. With this loss of substance and exhaustion of strength, the homies of the people will be stripped bare and strengthened, and 3/10 of their income will be dissipated. Tu Mu and Wang Zi agree that the people are not mulcted, not of 3 of 10, but of 7 of 10 of their income. But this is hardly to be extracted from our text. Hoshish has a characteristic tag. The people being regarded as an essential part of the state and food as the people's heaven, is not right that those in authority should value and be careful of both. While government expenses for broken chariots, worn out houses, breastplates and helmets, bows and arrows, spears and shields, protective mantles, draught oxen and heavy wagons will amount of 4/10 of its total revenue. 15. Hence a wise general makes a point of foraging on the enemy. 1 carload of the enemy's provisions is equivalent to 20 of one's own, and likewise a single pecul of his provender is equivalent to 20 from one's own store. Because 20 cartloads will be consumed in the process of transporting 1 carload to the front. A pecul is a unit of measure equal to 133.3 pounds, 65.5 kilograms. 16. Now, in order to kill the enemy, our men must be roused to anger. that there may be advantage from defeating the enemy, they must have their rewards. 2 more says, rewards are necessary in order to make the soldiers see the advantage of beating the enemy. Thus, when you capture spoils from the enemy, they must be used as rewards, so that all your men may have a keen desire to fight, each on his own account. 17. Therefore, in a chariot fighting, when 10 or more chariots have been taken, those should be rewarded who took the first. Our own flags should be substituted for those of the enemy, and the chariots mingled and used in the conjunction with ours. The captured soldiers should be kindly treated and kept. 18. This is called using the conquered foe to augment one's own strength. 19. In war, then, let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns. As Hoshish remarks, war is not a thing to be trifled with. Sun Tzu here reiterates that main lesson which this chapter is intended to enforce. 20. Thus it may be known that the leader of armies is the arbiter of the people's fate, the man on whom it depends whether the nation shall be in peace or in peril.